Lindsay Whalen is here to talk about the Minnesota Lynx. No, you have not entered a time machine. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello there and happy Tuesday to you. My name is Howard Megdal, and I want to welcome you to Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Over 250,000 of you in November alone listen to us first, the way we show up for you 6 days a week. And of course, it is not just me, it is the incredible team across the board over at The Next, where we cover over 100 reported pieces on women's basketball every single month. Go ahead and subscribe. $9 a month, $72 a year. Get them all sent right to your inbox. It is the Women's Basketball Network we have always needed, and it is here. And we've had the pleasure through the years of being able to cover Lindsay Whalen in any number of ways. Our beginnings overlap with the end of your time as a player, as a head coach, and now have the opportunity to cover your return to the Minnesota Lynx. And it's always great to chat with you. But I think first and foremost, my number one question is, what is it like for you to live the dream of being a fan who sends feedback to a coaching staff and then ultimately gets to be elevated from the stands into the coaching staff itself?
Well, I guess a little bit of good fortune. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it was such a fun ride watching the team. And, I think that the cool thing about what coach has built with the Lynx is we've had, after I retired in 2018, we've had several different opportunities to be at Lynx games, honor different players, be honored. So we've all still kept in touch. And so I think then, you see this team this year. It was really the first summer that I was truly kind of available. I mean, the other summers I would know what's happening with the team, but I was so focused on recruiting and things at the U of M that you're really watching from afar. And then this last summer was the first one that I was like truly available and there. And so it was just a team, and it was a great team. And it was just a team that was a lot of fun to watch and be a fan of and be an alumni of the franchise. And so I just every so often would mainly text Becky, other than just little things here and there, because I know how busy it gets when you're the head coach, and you want to inundate coach with different things other than support. So I don't know. And I also went from starting the wave in game 4 to now the bench. I'm not sure I'll be necessarily doing that next season, which is fine. But I'm really just really, really thrilled with the opportunity. And we've, hit the ground running, and I've had a good, essentially, about 2.5 weeks here and getting my kind of footing back in on really being in the league and in the meetings and kind of back in the trenches, so to speak, with the WNBA franchise, which has been awesome.
And so I know at your introductory presser, there was some question about what the division of labor looks like, and obviously Cheryl has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the information, the knowledge at her disposal with you, with Eric Tebow, who will be joining us in the near future, with Rebecca Brunson. Has there been any kind of decisions made about that? And sort of how do you go about figuring that out? I know Cheryl is very collaborative by nature as far as this stuff goes.
Yeah, I think it'll be whatever coach thinks is best, and whatever, as we kind of get in and get together. I think I'm sure she has an idea, and I have an idea of kind of where I'll be. But until you get into where you're just working daily and see where strengths and different things that people bring, I think that this next several months of just being together as a staff will be really vital for, for her to really, kind of pinpoint where we'll all be best suited and
Mhm.
where, kind of our areas will be. But as you mentioned, she's very collaborative, and, you have to be ready for any type of a role, and I think that that's what you have to be as well. I mean, you kind of have to be ready for anything on any given day, to be able to, whether it's personnel groupings, whether it's drills and schemes you run in practice, whether it's scouting. I just think you have to, this day and age, you just really have to be, pretty flexible, and knowing everybody on the staff for a long time, as far as the coaches, knowing everybody's, that's how everybody is. I think it'll be, a lot of fun, and it has been a lot of fun.
There's a specific area that you left a natural hole, let us say, in the Minnesota Lynx roster, which is to say at point guard. And it was generally understood. And, I've been at this a minute, so I remember at the time that, all right, it's not going to be so easy to find the next point guard in Minnesota. But
Mhm.
you look at what Courtney Williams did this year, and you just even look at the numbers, and it's this incredible combination of her assist percentage being north of 37. The turnover percentage has stayed low, even as she's become more and more of a playmaker. You obviously even played against her. I'm just wondering from that perspective, how rare it is to see somebody make that kind of leap at that position, and what you think is sort of the next step for you guys to work on collaboratively.
Well, yeah, I think that it is. It's a true testament to Courtney, to coach, to the whole staff, to be able to just really go in somewhat, change positions. I mean, I know she's handled the ball a lot and been, she's played, as a creative, playmaking player, but to really take on that role is, she did so great. You didn't, they probably didn't know for sure how it was going to go going into the season, but obviously
Mhm.
it was, it went really well. And I was so impressed watching her and watching her lead the team. And, now, as you said, just being able to get in and, do, different workouts and offer different advice and different things, having played the position for Cheryl for 9 seasons. We played at obviously a very high level, and we're in some big games and big environments, and that's what you want. So now to be on that side, I certainly hope to bring, just another, set of eyes and voice that, that can get what the team is trying to accomplish, and what Cheryl's trying to accomplish in that game or in that instance. And like I said, having lived it, you have, a good understanding of what's expected. So I'm really excited. But I just was so impressed. It's not easy. I mean, there wasn't too many times I was asked to play, two guard or off the ball in my career, but the times that it did happen, it's certainly an adjustment.
Mhm.
I think it's harder to go from, let's say, a 2 or a 3 or a wing player to being the primary ball handler or the lead ball handler in point guard. That's a whole different, mindset and ball game. And so I think that she did great, and we'll work to take another step this year.
I I can't even think of somebody who's done it mid WNBA career. I've sort
Right.
of racking my brain. To me, the two biggest jumps in roles later on in careers that I've seen in recent years is Courtney doing this year, and Rebecca Brunson becoming a stretch big
Yes. Yeah.
at later on in her career. But no, it does boggle the mind. And to your point, and as a point of personal privilege as the host, I can't imagine who better to be able to help her continue to make that leap than somebody who lived it more than anyone else. Playing for Cheryl. So really interested to get more into the background of how you come here and what it feels like. Day to day as well. So we're going to talk more about that in
Mhm.
segment 2. Lindsay Whalen is here. I'm not going to insult everyone's intelligence by explaining who she is. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel now has an offer for the NFL. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. As a New York Giants fan, I can urge you, you don't want to be betting on the New York Giants, but there are other teams who are doing well. I know Lindsay's own Minnesota Vikings are doing pretty well. Lindsay, have you decided how the Vikings are not going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Oh man, yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, it's so funny because we all, like, as fans of the team, it's like this is the time to really enjoy, because I don't know, maybe this group is different. I feel like from our head coach down, I feel like the group is different, mainly because of his, I think, leadership. He's, again, play calling.
Right.
But I mean, it's just happened to us so many times, 98. That was kind of my first real experience with it. I was a sophomore in high school. And then obviously the Brett Favre year, which was 09. Then there was the Minneapolis Miracle, which was awesome. And then we went to Philly and lost in the conference finals game. So it's I'm just going to say I'm just going to enjoy December, early January. But no, I mean, I don't know. They might have something different. So, you got to go into it with a big, open eyes and just, I guess what I'm trying to say is optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but I love the group. They're certainly fun to watch.
You never know. You never know. And so accordingly, FanDuel.com gives you the opportunity to do this all in one place. The Sportsbook app, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Again, get started today with $5 bet. You can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Lindsay's team, it still matters. My team very much does not matter. I believe I'm the starting quarterback this year. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Yeah, Lindsay, it is grim in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I can tell you that. It is. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah. The great thing about the NFL, though, I mean, the Vikings were picked to win maybe 4 games, and here we are. I mean, every season, every team can. That's what's great about it, that you can really have a chance. And us having a young core and Sam Darnold playing the way he is, it's a lot of fun. And
Daniel Jones as the backup, who will do well. Every former Giant has done well. So, but we should talk about. We're Locked On Women's Basketball. So we'll talk more about the NFL another time, but I want to talk about the coaching landscape, and I want to talk about the changes here. And just to sort of set the stage for people to understand it, you made the leap to coach at your alma mater, and you did so right at the end of your playing career. This is at a time where opportunities for players to go into coaching, for former players to go into coaching, were significantly more limited. And the way in which we've seen that landscape open up, whether it's the fact that literally by definition, WNBA benches have more coaches on them now. So there's more of an opportunity to enter the pathway that way. I just wonder whether in hindsight, you go back and you look and you say, all right, this has changed fairly dramatically for the better, not just for me, but for my colleagues who are, coming to the end of playing careers and looking to figure out what's next.
Well, yeah, I mean, you started right off, I think, with the larger staff that it takes to operate a WNBA franchise. That's something that I've literally been able to witness firsthand here in the last 2.5 weeks since I started as an assistant coach with the Lynx. Just the amount of people, different roles that have expanded since 2018. Another assistant coach. We had 2 assistants when when I was still playing, and the skill development role was something that was just kind of coming into play. And yeah, now there's just so much more. There's, a lot more analytics and data and just, sports performance things. Players are especially veteran players are going overseas, I think less. And there's obviously new, domestic leagues during the WNBA off season that have come about. So I think just being, available and around, we've had some workouts these last few weeks where players, typically when I was playing, we were in Europe playing, and we were doing that. And now like I said, there's more opportunities coming up here after the first of the year. So there's players who are, in town and, getting workouts in and preparing their bodies for that. And so it just creates more opportunities for people like me who want to be, still on a team, involved in some way, around the game, trying to learn, trying to get better. So it's just, yeah, it's really, really fun. I think it only continues to go up.
I do wonder though, how much, if ever, you think about how much the landscape has changed also for, like you said, players in their prime.
Mhm.
I mean, if we were talking, if this was you 10 years ago, you'd be on your way to Miami to play in Unrivaled, potentially, or,
Mhm.
Athletes Unlimited. There are
Right.
opportunities to do any number of things. There are, like you said, choices that were not there even a few years ago. And we're on the cusp of potentially a new collective bargaining agreement that is going to transform, potentially financially, the way players are compensated as well.
Mhm.
Do you ever think about it in those terms? I mean, in some ways you could say, and look behind me, there's a book about it, how like you're right on time for all these ways
Yeah.
that mattered, right? But like, do you ever think about it as like, oh man, 5 years later and it would have been this?
um, I kind of think of it as, I get this opportunity now that, like I said, that we wouldn't have had. There wouldn't have been maybe another coaching position for somebody like me within the organization to be hired. And so with that growth and with those opportunities of, leagues, as you mentioned, the CBA, and whatnot. And I think obviously viewerships and arenas, being full. I think that all that, you know, as a player in the early, throughout the 2010s, for also the majority of the early 2000s, I was a player who helped build this. And now this is the part that, as a coach now, those are what you also worked for in a
Mhm.
way that you weren't thinking at the time, but we helped build it. We helped, continue to grow it from people that built it before us. And now the players are, rightfully so, earning different benefits and, more money and have more opportunities. And so with that offers this opportunity for people like me. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, obviously, um, to be able to play in a league like Unrivaled and
Mhm.
potentially have some of the different things like, NIL college-wise and, the different things that the players have now, yeah, I mean, it's great, but, at the same time, it's just there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go back and change any of it, so you just can keep working and keep being fortunate for the opportunities that you have.
Well, I think a lot of people miss watching you play. They still have 2 wild cards left in Unrivaled, I believe. So,
Whew.
there's certainly still that opportunity for you if, if you reach out to Fee and, see
Yeah,
whether, it's, just there are no bad ideas is what I believe,
yeah.
but
No, it's true. It's like there's no bad questions, right?
that's right. Well, I'm definitely guilty of the latter, but anyway, it is interesting to me, and when we come back in segment 3, I want to talk about the legacy of the Lynx because it struck me that this move, along with the way in which the Lynx have treated their legacy over the past few years, along with the fact that we have Rebecca Brunson right there on staff as well, all matters when it comes to how people come to understand the way you help build. So back to talk with Lindsay Whalen in segment 3 in just a moment. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Locked on Women's Basketball is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Now, Rocket Money does something very specific. You may have subscriptions that you forgot about, you didn't even know, or maybe you're getting charged twice for it. That's happened to so many of us, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. How do you do it? Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/LOCKEDON. rocketmoney.com/locked on. Back here in segment 3 with Lindsay Whalen. And Lindsay, I'm wondering if you were as puzzled as I was by a couple of things. One is, over the last couple of years, I've heard that the very first super teams in WNBA history were formed, and there were no super teams before the 2023 season. I also have come to understand that women's basketball as a spectator sport began in the 2024 season. And for those of us who experienced the 4 championships in the 2010s, along with, and we could spend a whole other podcast talking about the near misses that go along with it, the sold out crowds, everything that goes along with it. How do you take it? Are we more excited that there are more people on the on-ramp? Is it aggravating that you got folks who don't know the history? Is it a little bit of both? What's that like for you, a member of those super teams?
Yeah, I mean, you could go back to 96 with the first Comets team.
Correct.
So I think that there's just always been, and those are the teams that have had the success, which is why, as you mentioned, teams have tried to really, put several pieces together because, it's like, history kind of tells us this is what's worked. I mean, LA before, in the early 2000s was, the first team to win back-to-back until the Aces. And so, no, I mean, it's like our sport is so great. It's, I just think it's awesome that we have, the amount of eyes, that we have on it. But I think it's like anything that, everybody's in this moment right now, and it's, you kind of, it's like the GOAT debate, on any sport, it's kind of whatever's like happening right now. That's what, new viewers and people kind of tend to gravitate towards. So, I think it's good to have a healthy discussion as we're having on the teams and the players and the franchises that have been really successful, that have, kept the league moving in a positive direction. I think you can celebrate, new players and new fans and new franchises that are coming about that, hey, what an opportunity for, a place like Golden State to learn from franchises, such as the Lynx, that have had the amount of success that they've had, just how it works and how, from not only like a, player standpoint, this is what's worked, but this is what's worked on the business side, or the, team marketing, corporate sponsorship side. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm just so excited, happy to be back in the, all of it, because it just is such a fun time. And so it's pretty cool.
In terms of the debate, and there's sort of 2 parts to it, right? One is, you look at that lineup, and to have the 5 I would argue not just Hall of Famers, but inner circle Hall of Famers that you were playing with. Uh, do you view that team? And I know there's a certain inherent bias that goes in it as the greatest of all time. Like you said, there's the Houston Comets, there's the early 2000s LA Sparks. The Aces certainly have made a claim, with their back-to-back years as well. How do you think it stacks up?
Well, I think ours is up there with longevity of of to be able to do it, to be able to go 6 finals in 7 years.
Mhm.
That one year we don't go to the finals, we lose to maybe one of the greatest teams in a single year, that Phoenix team in 2014. I mean, that
Mhm.
team was so good. But we make the conference finals. So I think there's an argument to be made. And obviously, that team at that point, that Phoenix team won, I think, the most regular season games in league history, I believe.
Yeah,
Comets
29 and
maybe have,
5.
20,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And Comets had won 4 in a row.
Mhm.
So that, I mean, that is obviously, the league was different then, and the league is even different now as we enter the mid 2020s, which is kind of
Mhm.
crazy to say.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think we have an argument for sure. Just if I'm trying to, I mean, obviously, I think we were, yep, I think we were the best.
Mhm.
But if I look at it a little more objectively, if you're just looking at kind of eras and just pure facts of going to 6 finals, 7 years, winning four, um, yeah, it's there's certainly a case to be made.
I mean,
And
you would have. We don't know this definitively, but you probably would have won 3 straight if the WNBA had not suspended the shot clock rule for the last minute 20 of the 2016 WNBA finals. Now, I don't think you're allowed to respond to that now as an elite employee. Now, I don't want to get you fined, but it's you right there in that 2016 series as well. 3
yeah,
straight is especially 20 years on, and the league, as we know, continued to get better and better. I just also wonder, and this is sort of the other side of it, um, talent gathering like that in a league that's about to have 13, and by 2028, Kathy Engelbert says will be 16 teams. Do you think we're ever going to see a scenario like that again, where a team could put 5 inner circle Hall of Famers like you guys into the same starting lineup?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I
Huh.
do. I do think so. Because Um, I think with the talent that is continuing to come into our league, I think that there's anything is possible. It's not easy. It's for us, it's a once in a lifetime. It was a once in a lifetime group that we got to be together for that long and had that kind of success. And um, but it's like I said, the Comets, the early 2000 Detroit teams.
True.
Um, it just is. It can. I mean, look at obviously. Um, as you mentioned, Vegas won back to back. Obviously, not this season, but that team winning a back to back after it hadn't been done for 20 years. I do think so, um, because I just think that is those are things that are a possibility as long as we continue to grow our game, improve. Players improving, teams improving. I just think the only thing that 16 teams to me is just it creates so many more opportunities and so many more jobs for people.
Mhm.
I think will it take time to get if you get, like a, starting five of all Hall of Famers. Yeah, we'll see when that is again or when that happens or a sustained run like we had or a couple other teams have had, but it's possible because it's been done before. And so I just say that it's been done before. It can happen again. I think if you talk to every general manager and every WNBA coach in the league, that's what you're working towards and going for because just how special those groups are to be a part of. And when you are, like you said, in it, there's nothing like it. So yeah, but I'm
And
kind of just traditionally just like an optimist. I just always think it's possible.
And you do happen to be working for the last person who did that. So it's not
exactly. So
it,
it's
last I
if
heard,
anybody knows how
she's
to do
still
it, it's
putting
dope.
teams together. It's
Yep.
true. Although that collective in 2024, as she put it, also impressive as well. Cannot wait to see what 2025 brings. Lindsay Whalen, just delighted you're back in the league and we
Thank
get the
you.
chance to cover you. Thank you for your time. To our listeners, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing you a wonderful Tuesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.